Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I decided to do an unexpected live stream. I do these, I just create them. Therefore, it is wise to subscribe and to click on the notification button. And, my videos, they're just not grabbing a lot of traction, and that's kind of on purpose. I know that sounds strange, right? But, I'm looking for 5, 10,000 real MGTOW men. I'm not looking for 100,000 of just, people who want to be entertained and stuff like that. I've already done that. Now, so I just want to give an opportunity to hang out with the MGTOW men and, to chat a little bit, to talk a little bit, to see what's on your mind, to, give people an opportunity to just hang out. I've got a few things that I want to talk about. Now, let me firstly say, I don't even know if this is going live yet. There's a delay between OBS and YouTube, so I may have to repeat this little section here over again, right? Let me check if I've got anybody stopping by, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. No, it doesn't look like I'm live yet. Oh, wait a minute. Here I am. Okay. YouTube Studio, Real Talk for Real Men, live now. I got to click on it and kind of see what's going on here. Stream keyed. Okay. Yes. Excellent connection. Okay. So we are live. Yeah, they've just changed the interaction between OBS and YouTube such that, you're starting up the live stream and then it's creating it on YouTube and who knows, right? So one of the things that I want to talk about is men playing in a rigged game, okay? Because that is what we're dealing with. You're in a rigged game. No matter how well you play this game, no matter you do all the right things, okay? Your entire life, the foundation, the basis of, your interaction in society can be pulled right out from under you. And indeed, it already is pulled right out from under you. And this is the idea of validating the man, okay? Now, MGTOW, we're saying we don't need female validation, okay? I agree. I respect that. I appreciate that. But here's the thing. It's a gynocentric world. It's a female-led world. Even if it appears that men are in charge, they are merely in charge of a covert matriarchy. They are merely in charge to appease and to appeal to the women. This is the danger of the blue pill man. This is why I respect MGTOW, okay? And in my honest, truthful opinion, I don't see how any woman could respect any man that isn't MGTOW, okay? This blue pill simpish behavior of the men chasing after the women, you understand that it's not just sex that the man is looking for. He's looking for validation because his world, his workplace, his friends, his people, they're not about supporting him. They're not about validating him. They're not about building you up. They're about tearing you down so that they can hold themselves up as some sort of an example. And you know why they're doing it. You do know why they're doing it, but I'll say it explicitly. They're doing it to impress the women, okay? Now, this is a weird thing that I need to, that I do from time to time. Pretend that you're a woman, okay? Would you respect a man who is chasing after you because you're pretty? Because you might compliment him? What weakness? What a compromise, you know what I mean? But here's the thing. You can understand why the men are doing it. Because, okay, you don't need any female validation, but it's a gynocentric world. It's run by women. They set the rules. The men who appear to be in charge are merely appearing to be in charge so that they can have access to the women and so that they aren't canceled and kicked out of the social setting. So that's all there is. There's female validation in our society. That's it. That's how you hold on to your job. That's how you get a promotion. That's how you impress the people at work. That's how you get compliments from your fellow man and from the world around you. Okay? Are we suggesting that a man doesn't need some of that? Okay, so how about this, right? This is what I do. Go to work hard, sacrifice, give 100%, give your best. And in return, you get nothing. You even get attacked for not caring about the group, for not being part of the party, for not joining in, for not being happy, for not supporting everybody in everything, right? So unless you're willing to give people gender affirming care, all right, then you're not part of this group, that you can't get any validation within this group unless you're willing to give gender affirming care. Now let's break that down a little bit, right? Because that's a break from reality, isn't it? That is a psychotic episode, isn't it? So somebody comes to you and says, I'm not really a woman, I'm a man. And you're looking at him and, long hair, round face, boobs, big hips, right? And you're thinking, that's absurd. Of course you're not a man. Of course you're a woman. Go ahead and reverse it. The man steps forward, puts on his dress and his makeup, right? His wig, and he says, he's a woman, okay? And unless you, as a citizen, as a member of the social group, are willing to look at that man or woman and say, yes, I agree with you, okay? Even though you have a penis, you're still a woman, okay? Then you're not part of the group. Then you're not welcome because you don't have compassion for people and their identity, okay? So I need you to go measure a piece of wood, okay? And I need it to be 6 feet long, okay? A 2x4, 6 feet long, all right? Now, let's say you go off and you cut it 5 feet long and you bring it back to me. And I say, look, I need it to 6 foot. 5 foot doesn't work. Please go back and cut it again. Stop wasting material. Stop wasting time. This is a human being's way. This is the reality that we live in. This is objective reality, okay? But you're out of line. You've just hurt their feelings. Cutting a 5-foot piece of wood was the best that they could do. So what kind of a construction site are you on now, right? You've got women, you've got weak men walking around doing whatever the hell they want, saying whatever the hell they want that has nothing to do with reality. And you've got to sit there and pay them and say to them, good job. Now, where is that going to lead? See, it doesn't have to be a construction site. It could be anything. It could be a sales force. It could be, like fundraising, anything, all right? And you, as a leader, as a director, as somebody who's trying to make a positive difference in this world, when these people come up short, you've got to pretend like they did a good job. I sit in a group, right? A drug treatment group. I really don't have a problem with drugs. I have a problem with with a place to live, okay? And it causes me some strife, some discomfort, because I want to respect and I want to listen to people, right? And for me to do that, of course, I have to give them my attention. And for me to do that, then I end up thinking about what they say, okay? But my comments are not welcome, right? So I'm in a group of, 50 people, and I am by far, the most experienced speaker, and they don't want to hear me talk, because I won't give them that gender affirming, that subjective mindset affirming care, okay? I'm a man. I don't lie. I stand up for the truth. I don't go along with bullshit, okay? I stand up for the truth, like any good man would. And I am, of course, unwelcome. I have nothing valuable to say to these people. I mean, I do, indeed, right? But they're not going to allow for it. They'll shut it down. They will roll their eyes. So a man steps up to tell the truth, to make a positive difference, and the fat, lazy people around him who want to get fat and want to indulge anything that they, want, they roll their eyes. They say that's a bunch of bullshit. So what place is there for men like me, for men like you? Okay? The answer is there's no place. Our society has turned its back on us. We haven't turned our... Look, MGTOW, they didn't really walk away. Society walked away from them. There's a big difference. I speak with a lot of men all over the world. I hear what they have to say. Just a second, please. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, they don't even want me in the group, right? Somebody like me starts talking, and it's like, look at the Bible, okay? And it's, I normally don't talk about anything like this, but it doesn't say that you're just going to be forgiven and loved and everything is going to work out perfectly for you forever. It basically says, these are the rules, these are the laws. This is the way you have to behave. And if you'll do that, then you will have particular rewards and you won't incur particular punishment. Okay? It's not this absurd, subjective idea of, people can do anything they want and they're just being true to their nature and it's all going to turn out right. So the men that I interact with around the world, they know this is bullshit. They know this doesn't work. This is like somebody eating everything they want, whenever they want it, and then being surprised when they become overweight. Somebody never exercising, okay, never pushing themselves, never putting in a little bit of sweat, and then over the time wondering why they're so weak. We're talking about objective reality here. We're talking about the measurements of wood. Okay? We're talking about real things that can be measured. We're not talking about subjective feelings. And the men, they're pissed. They see it. They know that the world is just going in the wrong direction. And you know what they say? They say, I hope the people come to their senses. Right? Well, I've been waiting for that for a long time. And it surely has not happened. And I would suggest to you that there were many good men who existed before you, before me, who also went through this. Okay, let me check out the chat. AP530, thank you, bro. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you. Dark Solidarity, how's it going, brother? Thanks for stopping by. I remember you guys from back in 2015 and 16, right? And you know what I went through back there at around the beginning of 2019, 2018, right? New Year's Day. New Year's Eve day. I get arrested on false charges. And I spend the next year and a half in jail. I spend the next 4 years going through multiple trials, okay? Being under house arrest. And after about 6.5 years, they find out, she was lying. She made it up. And they knew that beforehand, but they just didn't bring it out. So, yeah, everything in my life destroyed. Everything gone, okay? 7 years locked up, treated like, like a dog. Why? Because I speak out. Yes, she knew I was MGTOW. Yes, this was a planned attack. I'm not going to go into too much detail on it because, to be honest with you, it's too damn upsetting for me. But yeah, this was a planned attack. Oh, and let me tell you something else. Yeah, if you're trying to create content, MGTOW content, you are shadow banned. It's true. So this idea of freedom of speech, right? Freedom of speech. Yeah. It's a great idea, isn't it? I support it. You support it. I am not afraid of what you have to say. Go ahead. Disagree with me. Tell me your ideas. Okay? And then I'll tell you mine. I'll tell you what I think. That's a fair exchange. You know, the word Israel, yeah, Israel, right? For the Jews. You know what it means, right? It means those who wrestle with God, not those who believe, not those who follow, not those that bow down, not those that go along with, not those who never question, but those who wrestle. Can you wrestle? Can you give me your ideas and support them? And can we have that exchange? Because I respect that. And if I had a son, I would say to him, okay, buddy, let's see what you got. Go ahead. Go ahead. Put me in a headlock. Go ahead. Put me in a full Nelson. Go ahead. Throw me down to the ground. See if you can do it. And you know what I would do? I would go along. I would allow the boy, the son, to practice their moves on me. And I would encourage them. And this is what my father did, okay? And when I disagreed with him, or when I said, I don't think that's right, he said, tell me why. Why do you think that? Okay? This is how I was raised. So when I see something that isn't right, I say, hey, I don't think that's right. And let me tell you why. And I'm in a world that says to me, no, Howard, that's wrong. You are wrong, Howard. You are never white. Yeah. So that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a rigged game. You're coming out to this game. You're putting on your uniform. You've got all your plays practiced. You've practiced your execution. You're going out there. You're doing it, and you're getting fired. You're getting attacked. Not only are you not getting the credit for the work you do, okay? You're getting punished for the work that you do. And all they're asking you to do is say that 2 + 2 = 5. That's all you got to do. Is just say that a man is a woman and a woman is a man. That's all you got to do. All you got to do is say that this F student is no less worthy than the A student. In other words, we should give the scholarship to the F student, and we should make the A student fend for himself or herself. Okay? That's all you got to do. All you got to do is go along with their lies. All you got to do is go along with their persecution. Their jokes aren't even jokes. They're like probing tests to see if they can get away with attacking people. So here's a joke for you, and it's not much of a, it's not really a joke, it's a statement. And I just heard this browsing, videos, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, right? So Adam looks at Eve and says, so Eve, here we are. Isn't this great? The Garden of Eden. We never get sick. We live forever. And anything we want, anything we dream of is instantly ours. And she looks at him, Eve looks at Adam and says, yeah, I know. It's just not enough, is it? Now the men are smiling. The men are laughing. The men are chuckling right now. And the women are confused. They don't understand. Right? So this is just more exemplifying, the meaning of all of this. Okay? So here you are, essentially the Garden of Eden. Truly, anything you want, if you'll do it and you'll work for it and you'll sacrifice for it, you can make it real. Within reason, within logic. And the women, they're just not happy with that deal. You know what I mean? They don't want to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. That's not what they want. They want that given to them without having to earn it. They want that given to them because they're pretty. They want that given to them because they're a princess, and their whole life They get whatever they want. And nobody gender affirming care. It's not just gender affirming care. It's affirming anything and everything these people say or do, right? So you're in a drug treatment program, okay? And a person comes in and they say, yeah, I was just out in the parking lot getting high. And do you know what the teacher says? The teacher says, good job. Well done. Congratulations. You've got yourself maybe 5 or 10 minutes of sobriety. Congratulations. So it's this affirming care to people, whether or not it's true, whether or not it will help them, whether or not it's good, whether or not it engenders, like that word, sustainable ethics. Now, for me, Howard Dare, that word is a big deal. Sustainable ethics, okay? I need to be able to move through life, to move through my day, to carry myself in such a way that it is sustainable into the future. So, if I go out and break the law in order to make money, okay, I got some money, right? Good deal. And I've taken some chances. Do you ever read Nietzsche's analysis of the criminal element? Yeah, he does not condemn them entirely. You know what I mean? He says, hey, at least you're hustling. You know, at least you're going after it. Yeah. Now, where was I? Okay, yeah. So I'm going out and I'm hustling and I'm making money and I'm taking care of myself, but I'm taking chances. Okay, it's not sustainable. Eventually, gonna get caught. Eventually, gonna get shut down. So this idea of stealing and lying to get ahead, it's not sustainable. Like you can't. Is it better than starving and dying? Hell yes. Should you do it before you starve and die? Hell yes. Should you do it short of that? I don't know. Your call. If you do it short of that and you continue to do it, will you eventually get caught? And the answer is most likely. Therefore, not sustainable. Let's say you're in a kind of social situation. Maybe you're a manager in a place. Maybe you're a facilitator and you talk to people who are dealing with drug addiction. Okay? And sometimes you're uncomfortable. And I call it trauma talk, is what I call it. And what the person does is as their discomfort rises, they start talking about their trauma. Okay? They start talking about right and wrong. They start getting upset. Okay. This is actually interesting. You need, keep an eye on this. So you've got somebody talking to you and maybe you disagree with them on a point a little bit. See how they react to that. See if they value your opinion, consider your opinion, address your opinion in a fair, open manner and allowing you to come back into the conversation. Or do they shout you down? Do they start to get upset? Do they start to talk about the rules? Do they start to talk about the right way to behave? Do they start to talk about obligation that we all have? Do they start to talk about the trauma of their lives? It's disgusting, okay? You get full-grown men and you say to him, hey man, you were a little late coming into the meeting today. And he says, my father used to beat me for no reason. And I'm like, wow. What a confession, right? So as I was saying earlier, 50 people, I am without a doubt the most experienced speaker, okay? But they don't want to hear what I have to say. I forgot what I was going to say about that, right? No, they want the gender affirming care. They want the affirming care. Oh, so I start talking, right? I've got some insights. I've thought about some of these subjects. I've said it before. I'll say it again. And each time I say it, I'll say it more concisely and better. It's pretty cool, right? right? You're like in jail. And you're like, hey man, I'll trade you these jalapeno peppers for those honey mustard jalapeno pretzels, right? And they're like, holy shit, you're that guy. You're Howard Dare. And I'm like, yeah, hello MGTOW, hello man, this is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. This is in jail. I'm getting this, okay, from just random men. And this isn't even just in jail. This is like in group therapy sessions. The therapist running the session is like, holy shit, it's you. And, they're like, hey, man, you really saved my life. Okay, I was going through a hard divorce. I was really down on myself. And the only thing that, made me feel a little bit better about the fact that I'm a man was listening to your videos. And I'm like, hey, man, my pleasure, right? That's exactly why I was doing it, because I felt it too. You guys know my story, right? My MGTOW story. This is many years ago, like 2015, and I'm coming across Barbarossa videos and Thinking Ape videos, and yes, the girls, the honey badgers, right? Karen Strong, Allison Timon, I believe, and they're delivering a message that's sympathetic towards men, right? They're saying, essentially, that this gynocentric, this leftist liberal worldview, okay, this idea of social equality independent of objective behavior, okay, is invalid. It's a rigged game. It's an enslavement of the male population. And I'm like, hell yeah, I can get behind this. Give me more. And I'm listening to the Barbarossa videos, I'm listening to the Thinking Ape videos, and I'm listening to the Sandman videos, because Sandman, started and he was putting out videos. And even, I think TFM, was also getting started right around there. A lot of other great content creators. Forgive me if I don't mention your name. And then one day, Barbarossa just stops making videos. I'm like, where's my videos? Where are my sympathetic male videos? And I'm going over to Sandman, and Sandman's great. Sandman has done a great service to the world, in my opinion. But it doesn't, hit the same spot for me. So I'm like, well, why don't I make my own videos, right? Why don't I say, what's on my mind? And I did. And, they weren't very good at first, of course. Right? Some of you are thinking they're still not very good, Howard, but I have an explanation for that. And I took it from there. Now, my outlook was not to try to be as profound or insightful as somebody like Barbarossa or Thinking Ape. My idea was simply to offer a kind of positive, reinforcing message to the men, because I was aware of, how much they were struggling and the pressures that they were under. So I was never trying to make really deep, insightful, philosophical, videos that really uncovered a subject, because it's not my skill, and it's a lot of work, right? Like I could be more effective doing it slightly differently. So that's what I did. But then, the end of 2018, and I'm at around 65, 75,000 subscribers, and boom, my whole life just gets taken away from me, and I'm basically locked up for the next 5 or 6 years. So now, here I am back on YouTube, and I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to just put out videos about, here, I'm thinking about a series of videos about female teachers who are caught, sexually molesting their students, right? Because there's more and more of them, aren't there? It's interesting, isn't it? As the women, step into these male roles, they're starting to recognize there's a lot of pain and suffering and sacrifice and abuse and negativity that goes with it. They say the women have to deal with negative emotion more than men. I don't know if that's really true. I think that the men have to deal with more negative emotion, but they just put it aside. They just don't let it bother them. But then sometimes it gets so bad over so many years, that there's just no turning it around. I want to warn you against being too nice of a guy. I want to warn you against trying to impress the ladies too much. I want to warn you against sacrificing yourself for the false validation of people who are trying to exploit you. Because even if you get their temporary approval, even if they say, "Oh, Joe, thank you so much. You did such a great job cleaning up my yard for me." If it's not sincere, you're going to feel like a fool for having done it. You're actually like undercutting yourself, right? It's kind of like going to a car manufacturer of high-end luxury cars and asking them if they would like to build a small economy model. And it's like, no, we would not like to build a small economy model because every one of those that sells is one less of our luxury car items that doesn't sell. So, you're actually undercutting your own market. So here the men are trying to be good men, trying to do what's right, trying to be of service, trying to exchange value, trying to earn their way in the world, and they're undercutting their own value. And any intelligent woman being approached by such a man would say, I want nothing to do with such a man. This man is a sycophant. This man is chasing after validation and approval so strongly that he will compromise his very soul, the very core of his being. And then what are you with? If the woman, what is she with? If that's who she's with. She's with some meal ticket. She's with some money bag. She's with some man that she doesn't even want to sleep with or reproduce with, but she uses him while she's looking for the other man. The cuckold, right? How's that feel? How's that make a man feel? If a queen has an affair and sleeps with someone other than the king and she has a baby, that's treason. That's cut off her head, because that child, having come from the queen, is expected to inherit the throne. But if the king has an affair and has a child, that's a bastard. That child can't inherit. There's no threat to the state. There's no threat to the company. There's no threat to the future. It's just a man doing what men do sometimes. So it's a big deal, okay? So men and women are not equal. It's not the same thing. They ask the men, could a married man have an affair, have sex with a woman, and have it be utterly meaningless towards, his marriage? And the men are like, yes, of course that can happen. I mean, that's the way that men generally do feel about sex. It's just a bit of a biological function that if you don't get rid of it, like, at least every couple, hours, no, maybe every couple months, it drives the man crazy. Right? So the man is locked in, right? He's like, I'm looking for a woman with red hair who is 6.5 feet tall, with long hair, and I need her to be wearing fishnet stockings or just some crazy, fucking fantasy, right? And the man finally gets his relief, and he's like, yeah, I don't care about any of that stuff. That's some of the stupidest stuff. What the hell was I thinking? Right? That's how obsessive it becomes. That's how locked in the man is. Understand further that the male mind is a single focused mind. It focuses on a single task, and it dedicates all of its attention to that single task. Does this make sense? Does this now offer you some insight into the whole, sexual driving of the men? Locked in on one thing. And until that one thing is taken care of, he can't think of anything else. Women aren't like that. Women are exactly the opposite. This is all about connections between people. This is all about the group. This is all about fitting in. This is all about getting along. This is all about the big picture. This isn't being locked in and getting one thing done with laser focus. This is just this overall kind of group thing. So what place is there for you as a strong man in that? And if this is the gynocentric world that it is, what place is there for you in that? And if you capitulate to that to get her validation, look, the world is not going to give you validation as a man. I don't care what you do. You can go ahead and become a multi-billionaire, right? And they'll say, he cheated. He's a piece of garbage. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he spends his money. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I get a little upset sometimes, guys. I really do, So the question becomes, what can I do? What can I do? So could I release a series of videos where I just cover the idea of female sexual predators? How's that, right? Case number 542, right? Let's meet Janie. This is Janie. And then we put a picture up of a semi-attractive woman, right? And then we describe her crimes, right? Yeah, I think that would get some traction, okay? But here's the thing. I would have to follow up on these stories. And you know what I would have to tell you eventually? That she was let go, that there was no punishment thrown her way. Not only that, okay? When I say they're going to let her go, they let her go. They don't hold her. They don't say, here's $100,000 bond on you. Pay 10% of your bond and you can leave. They don't even say that. They just are like, oh yeah, go on out, man. We're not going to hold you. They held me for fucking 5.5, 6 years, only to find out that bullshit. They're not going to hold her a single day. So you're dealing with a double standard. You're dealing in a rigged game, and you're fighting for a prize that you'll never, ever get. And you're fighting for a prize. And I don't mean you individually as a man. I mean men in general. The men are fighting for the female validation because the world itself cannot and will not validate the man. Okay? So you're out there making $1 billion, doing all the right things, and everybody around you is giving you a dirty look and sneering at you and rolling their eyes at you because you're a man and you're a strong man and you stand upright and you tell the truth and you're honest and you don't give up and you don't bend over. Okay? So they don't like you. You do not supply gender affirming care. Right? When the man comes up to you and says, I'm a woman, do you want to date? You say, that's disgusting. Get the hell away from me. You're crazy. Okay? Good luck. Go get some help. And then they look at you like you're the odd man out? Like you're the problem? Fuck the hell with that. Okay? This is MGTOW. That's what MGTOW is about. About a bunch of bullshit, about a bunch of lies, about a bunch of dirty people trying to steal shit from good, hard-working people, and they want you to go along with it. And they're like, oh, well, you can have some too. And they're like, yeah, I guess everybody should have free medical insurance, right? Why do you think somebody thinks that? They think that because they have free medical insurance. They didn't earn it. So how could they deny it to somebody else? It's guilt. It's shame. It's the very things that these people are arguing for and fighting for. And it's the very thing that you as a man know you must stand against. Because what the hell kind of woman would respect a man who is nothing but a sycophant, who's just trying to buy her affection? And not even buy her affection, just buy the appearance of her affection. Hey, charismatic fiend, what's up, bro? Yeah, you did send me a dime. I appreciate the MGTOW support, you guys. This is all I am, okay? I am MGTOW. I'm not making money Google AdSense. I'm not making money on other, sort of affiliate marketing things. I'm not selling T-shirts. I'm not selling merchandise. I don't have any sponsors. I'm trying to tell the truth to the men so that they don't get destroyed. Please help me do that, okay? And I'm not begging. I'm saying that this is a worthy cause. I'm saying this is something worth doing. I'm saying that this behavior represents sustainable ethics. We can do this going into the future, and we can have a better future. Okay? You go the other way. You go with the women. You go to get their validation. You go to impress them. You go to make sure that you don't offend those weak men who all they want is the approval of the women. And you betray yourself. And the foundation, your core, becomes weaker. That's what they're asking you to do. They're asking you to play the rigged game. And it'll destroy your very soul. You know, I'm reading the Bible a lot lately. I find comfort in it. I take comfort in it. You got to know I'm one of the strongest atheists you could ever run into. You know what I mean? Like I'm an objectivist, okay? I'm not allowed to believe in supernatural things. But here's the thing. I don't think belief in a creator is a supernatural idea. And I do not even believe in creationism. You know, the idea that like this is all planned and da-da-da-da-da. It doesn't have to be. If you write a simulation, okay, you're not evaluating the individual moves. You're no longer part of the picture, okay? You wrote the simulation. Now, let's just focus on the move evaluator. Okay, incidentally, a chess program is not one program. If you try to do it that way, you're going to become overwhelmed. It's multiple separate programs. It's a move generator. What are the legal moves for any of these pieces? That's one program. Let's display that on the screen so that the people can see it and interact with it. Otherwise, you know, that would be stupid. That's a separate program. Now, given this list of legal moves, okay, we're going to look at each one of them and we're going to weigh it. We're going to evaluate whether or not it's a good move. Now, how we choose to do that is up to the individual programmer to a large degree, right? But you got to know that the pieces are assigned numerical values. Their location on the board, closer to the center, gets a higher numerical value. Going through the plies, you know, if I make this move, they make that move, and the computer can do that really fast. Are there captures involved? Are there positional advantages involved? These things have numerical values. So, this is the separate program, okay? You've already got the move generator. You've already got the graphic display. You've got your input and output, okay? Now you're evaluating those moves as a separate program. And you're saying, yeah, this move here is a plus 24. That move there leads to a minus, 15. So I'm going with the plus 24 move, okay? But once you've written that program and you've compiled it and you've sent it out into the world and people are using that program, you are no longer involved in that individual calculation. So, that's how I see the whole idea of intelligent design, right? Do you get what I'm saying there? I think you do. You don't have to be involved in the individual decisions to be the kind of force that set this whole thing up. Another interesting aspect on this, life itself, the four primary elements, nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, okay? If those weren't the basic building blocks, you don't get life, right? We have science fiction that talks about, life being based on, some other thing like silicon or something like that. Like their saliva glands drip acid. Maybe it's possible, but what's much more likely is that the same forces that created life here are the same forces that create life someplace else, okay? And again, couldn't happen unless you had this particular setup. So, and I am not so smart and so wise to know all things. And when I look out at a sunset across the desert, I could show you guys videos of like where I am. Beautiful sunsets, but no place for humans. I just feel it. I just feel like somehow I'm connected. Did you know that the star Betelgeuse, that's what it's called, but it's not spelled like that. Betelgeuse, something like that. Um, this single star is about the size of our entire solar system, meaning it's stretching out way past Jupiter. So it's, and it's exploding. Yeah, but probably, we don't know when. Probably within 100,000 years. So keep an eye out for that. But they were looking at it recently. And as I said, it's huge, right? It's as large as our entire solar system almost. And they were noticing some fluctuation in its brightness and its dimness. And looking closer, they found out it's got a companion star. There's another star orbiting this star that is the size of our entire solar system. Yeah. Now, it's not going to, that orbiting star is not going to last long, right? So yeah, we are the beta male orbiters, aren't we? In the gynocentric female world, they are the sun. They are the center. They decide who gets what and how things work and who gets ahead and who doesn't based on their likes and dislikes. That's the rigged game we're playing. And most of the men, the blue pill men, they're so desperate for the woman's approval. You see, the world can't give you the approval. The world is in competition with you. The world, is breaking the men to get their resources. And it's not even like individually, it's just like, this is what happens with the males. So there's no compassion. There's none of the ideas that you were given as a child. Like we should be fair, everybody's equal, all stuff like that. And even that, all men are created equal, right? That's the line. It's true, isn't it? Like nobody here is coming from outer space. Nobody here is being born in a laboratory. All men are created equally. See, it's not saying what you think it's saying. We think it's saying that all men should have equal rights, but it's not. It's saying all men are born of women. That is all, right? You guys, I'm sure some of you are familiar with McBeth, right? And you're thinking about it right now. No man born of woman, can kill McBeth, right? But then he comes up against McDuff, and and McBeth tells him, I have nothing to fear from you. No man born of woman can destroy McBeth. He's like, well, I was ripped untimely from my mother's womb. Right? He was a cesarean section. So he kills McBeth. Sorry, I kind of ruined the ending there for you. But if you don't know the ending to that one already, well, I'm just helping you out. Yeah, there's a really good movie version of McBeth. I think it's directed by, of all people, Roman Polanski. It's like in the 70s, I think. Yeah. You know what movie I liked? I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because it gave a happy ending to a really tragic, horrible story. Yeah, Once Upon a Time, right? So once upon a time, women loved men. Once upon a time, women looked to men to lead, to protect, to provide. And men earned a kind of respect and value and a place in the world, okay? But as we moved into the modern world, the women were like, I don't want to have to look to a man for protection. I don't want to have to look to a man to provide for me. I don't want to look to a man to lead me and to guide me, even though the Bible says that's what we're doing here. And so we adapted our social setting, our culture, our society, our workplace to accommodate the women. And now they don't need men to provide for them. They get better jobs than men. The inner cities in China, right? They employ more women than the men. You know why? Because the women follow orders, they do as they're told, they're reliable, they show up on time, and they have smaller fingers so they can, get into the components of the electronics and do some of that finer level work. Yeah. They shoot engineers, they shoot horses, okay? After the horse has done his job and he can no longer do his job, they have no compelling reason to continue to feed him. Right? Sound familiar? Does that feel familiar? Okay? You bring in top of the line engineers to build something for you, and it takes them ages to design, to test, to prototype, to fail, to redesign. But eventually they get it, and the product is good. It works. What use for the engineers do they have after that? They have none. Why would you continue to pay them? Let's say that you're a Hollywood movie studio, okay? And you want a good script. You've got actors, you've got directors, you've got producers. Incidentally, I'm playing the game Hollywood Animal, right? It's out there on a pre-release, trial. If you liked Lionsgate the movies, this was a game from like 15 years ago, okay? If you liked that, Hollywood Animal is, like the updated version. It's basically a movie tycoon simulator. So once you get your script, you don't need the writer anymore. You don't have to continue to pay them. So this is kind of the position that not just the men, but masculinity itself has fallen into. Right? Like they don't need the man. And it's not just that they don't need them, they actually abuse them and treat them unfairly, like the horse that can't do the job but that they still have to take care of and feed. Understand further that the very values, the sustainable, the ideas, the principles, the values, the ethics that give us a sustainable future, very important. In other words, it keeps us alive. These are under attack. These have been torn down. So I'm in these group meetings, right? Drug treatment. And certain people always come late. Yeah, they do. They don't like that whole idea of being on time, right? And when they talk, they don't respect other people. Have you noticed that? It's kind of like a leftist news program, right? They're just like, that person's like Hitler. That person drinks Coke. Hitler drank Coke. They're just like Hitler. So, this is the level of their desperation. This is how hard they have to come down on the good man. Are there any good women out there, right? Not all women are like that. Yeah, that's true. There are some good women out there. Of course there are. And no, not all women are like that. But 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 are like that. Potentially 10 out of 10 are like that. And potentially they all eventually become like that. I've told you the story. I was living with a woman for a while there. This was way back, like 2014 maybe. Maybe even earlier. And we had this meaningless little argument about like what to watch on TV and or like whether or not to order a pizza or something like that. And I'm taking out the trash and she's following me out there and arguing with me. And just out of nowhere, she says to me, I could call the police on you. And it didn't even really register at first. I was just taking out the trash and we were just talking about what to watch on TV. But then I stopped and I was like, what? And I immediately said, well, please don't do that. I wasn't even like, well, that's not fair and you shouldn't do that. I was like, well, no, please don't do that. Because I knew how much trouble I could be in, And then I was like, that's not right. I should tell her. That's not a way to win an argument, to threaten to falsely accuse somebody and call the police, right? So I wanted to say that, but I knew better. I knew to just say, okay, we'll watch what you want. Okay, we'll eat what you want. Okay? So that's the situation that the men are in. That's the situation that you are in. Now, maybe you're not, maybe it doesn't matter right now in your life. And I hope that's the case. Excuse me a sec. Thank you for your support, everybody. I really appreciate it. Please click on my Cash App donation link. Help me out over there on Cash App. Otherwise, I starve, man. I got nothing going on here in this world, right? Like, see, I got a bit of a problem, right? Excuse me. This talk that I give, it's kind of me complaining about the situation. And I don't want to complain about the situation. I want to have a man's attitude about the situation. Because whatever it is, that's what it is. It doesn't matter how I feel about it. I want to be able to deal with it. But this is, the crux of what I'm talking about. The good young man is out there trying to do the right things. He's doing the right things. Some of my subscribers, young men, no different from me when I was a young man. Very, no difference. Of course, there's unique differences, but they're just young men trying to make their way in the world. And the world's not letting them do it. They're doing the right thing. They're making the sacrifices. They're doing the hard work. But the fat, disgusting, indulgent, entitled monsters around them are like, yeah, we just want more free stuff. We just want to get fat. You're a piece of shit. And he's not. He's a good man. And it's going to break him. It's going to break many of them. Someone's son. They have fathers, some of them good fathers. Certainly the father doesn't want pain and misery for his son. He doesn't want failure and abject abuse. Right? So what do you do? So let's say you get married and you have a son, right? And your wife is like, yeah, I want to give him hormone blockers so that he has the option to be a woman when he gets older. And you're like, that's crazy. That's criminal. You would be destroying his life and his potential into the future. So you're not just fucking the man over right here and now. You're fucking him over into the future too. So it's not sustainable. So we're placating the worst among us. What's the Yeats poem? Right? The best of us are filled with doubt, and the worst of us with passionate intensity. This is the second coming. I have to read it right now because it's important. And it has to do with, what the men are dealing with right now. I have to say, second coming, Yeats. He's a poet. Okay. Show me the Poetry Foundation. Okay. Now, I'll tell you beforehand, okay, the widening gear, that's G-Y-R-E, is 1,000-year cycle that Yeats, uses to kind of understand the passage of time and how the previous 1,000 years bleeds into the next 1,000 years and has some influence, but much of it is lost as well. So here's the poem, The Second Coming by Yeats, and I believe it has something to do with MGTOW and what we're dealing with. Turning and turning in the widening gear, the falcon cannot hear the falconeer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. the second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of spiritus mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with a lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and what rough beast its hour come round at last slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. So what beast indeed slouches towards Bethlehem to be born? We, MGTOW, we are the rough beast. We are the men who have been treated unfairly, unjustly. We are the men of a world that is going to hell, and we don't want it to. So what is there for you to do? What is there for me to do? Okay? Well, you must be true to your core values. You must make yourself strong. You must not compromise your beliefs, your values, your truth. And if you could do that, maybe someday, I mean, it's possible, you could meet a woman who actually respects that, who actually recognizes that. Men have become sycophants. Men have become cucks. They become beta male orbiters, all for the smile of a pretty girl. But understand that the reason why they've become that way is because the world has denied them any sort of validation, which destroys our sustainable ethics. So now we are participating in our own enslavement, our own suffering, our own torture, our own destruction, and that of the future generations of the young men to come. Shall we lose? Shall we fail? Shall it happen on our watch? Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Is there anything I can do? Let me take you out to dinner. Let me buy you something. Let me massage your feet. Please don't be mad at me, honey. When all the man was doing was the right thing to begin with. And he's left with the refrain, please don't be mad at me, honey. So now the man jumps through hoops. He does backflips through the hoops. Did you know that the Australian red spider, right, it's like a black widow variation, that the tiny little males literally do backflips into the female's mouth? Yeah. Yeah. That, talk about simpish behavior. How about an ant's nest, right? The males go to war. The males are the workers. Females, you don't see the females out of the nest. All the females have wings, and one of them is the queen, right? Kind of like Beyonce. Have you seen that Beyonce commercial? Shit, I wonder if I could actually play that for you going through OBS. I could, but my stuff isn't updated. Look, I'm operating on a fucking small little tablet that's designed for a girl, right? With those tiny little fingers, okay? It's complete bullshit. So the man wants to do a man's job, but the man doesn't have the tools that a man needs to do the job. So you want to build a house? Well, you don't have a hammer. You want to build a house? Well, you don't have any wood. Yeah. You want to build a sidewalk? No concrete. That's what you're dealing with. That's the world you're in. You want to exist and move forward into the future and be happy and healthy and strong and have some possibilities? Well, the hell with that. They're not going to they don't want that. They want a future where you're enslaved and they don't have to do anything. That's the future. That's the present. That's what we have allowed to happen because the women are so pretty and we need their validation. But again, yeah, there is no other validation otherwise. I say it like, oh, we need their validation, like that makes us weak, okay? Shit, this is like saying, oh, when the man needs food, oh, what a weak man, yeah. After every, 24, 36 hours, this man actually wants food. What a weakling, okay? So when I say the men need validation from the women, it's more like that. They just need positive feedback from the world around them that they're doing the right thing. Do you realize how dangerous it is to undercut that? Like, let's say you've got a son, and that son respects you, and he says, Dad, what do you think I should do? Right? I'm thinking about going out and joining the military or going into professional sports or, maybe becoming a rock star or an actor or maybe even a big, giant social media influencer. What do you think I should do, Dad? What would you tell him? You would tell him that that's great and go ahead and pursue that. But to have something to fall back on, to do the hard work, to have something get, like maybe air conditioning repair, maybe one of the trades, so that if those other things don't kind of work out, you can still survive and get by day to day. You would tell him to be able to sustain himself, to move himself forward into the future. You would not say to him, do whatever you want. Yeah, any dream you have, it can be yours. You would not give him advice that would destroy his future. And yet, that is what our society is doing. Eat whatever you want. You can be any sex you want. Oh, you don't like that person? Compare them to Hitler. Understand that when we do stuff like that we're not just lying and misrepresenting, that this person is like Hitler. No, they're not. But we're also saying, gee, Hitler wasn't as bad as, we're saying he was because it's so common. Do you know what the word gentleman actually means? Okay. Old England, what it means is an unlanded royal person. Okay? They don't have title, by law, title to a piece of land. They don't have it. And therefore, they are a gentleman because they have nothing to fight for. They can be a knight, they can fight in somebody, but they're fighting in somebody else's cause. That's what it means. That's what it meant. Now, we, of course, when we say it, what we mean is a man who is gentle, who is not aggressive, who is not, assertive, who is not particularly ambitious, who is not disagreeable. We mean a passive, unchallenging man. A gentleman, please, don't get excited. That's what we mean by it, okay? Well, that's not so bad. Works, right? Makes sense, gentle man. But in doing that, in giving it this new meaning, we've taken away the old meaning. Now the old one doesn't apply. So now let's do that with words like man and woman and love and honor and justice and truth. Well, it means whatever we want it to mean. This is my truth. Well, the minute it became my truth, it failed to be the truth. It's not my truth, it's the truth. This is the right way to move forward into the future. For you to be strong, for you to be healthy, for you to be independent, for you to not be a slave. And that is to be honest and truthful. Now, you don't have to tell them anything. You can just keep your mouth shut. But again, that's a bit of a capitulation, isn't it? Yeah. So these are the things that drive me, right? So why am I not putting out a video every day Because the only thing I could talk about would be like Beyonce's new jeans commercial. Have you seen that? It's a response to the Sydney Sweeney, she's got good jeans ad, right? Which, pretty young white girl making a little bit of a pun on the word good jeans. All right, that works. That's a good one. Okay. Yeah. For advertising, that's exactly what you're doing. But of course, the left saw this and took this as a racist statement. So if a white girl, stands up and says, I have good genes, it's like she's getting attacked. See, this is another thing. I hate to go off subject and everything like that. The women think that they're like setting up this system against the men and that they're going to be like in charge. Oh, no. No, the white women will just be torn down and there'll be nobody to defend them. That's all that's already happening, right? And look at the misandric land whales fucking riding on their hippos and shit. And, fucking bones through their nose. Ugh. Acting like, this is the definition of beauty and shit like that. Yeah, I'm just going off subject here on all of it. If you just go to Google and type in good man and then go to images, the images tab part of it, it's not going to show you any pictures of strong white men. It's not going to show you any pictures of any strong men. It's going to show you pictures of smiling, feminized, overweight, womanish men with a stupid grin, a gender-affirming grin on their face. But if you say strong woman, oh yeah, you'll get plenty of, women, white women of all shapes and sizes, and all different attire and shit like that. This goes back to the media is the message. Doesn't matter what we say, doesn't matter what we talk about. I'm going to show you a picture of Beyonce riding on a Harley in jeans, coming into a country pool hall, beating the white men at pool who basically live in the pool hall, right? These guys are, in fact, pool sharks. And when she wins, the elderly white man has to drop his pants and stand there humiliated in his underwear, while Beyonce, decked out in denim and rhinestones, looking kind of like Dolly Parton, but black, struts out of the bar and hops onto her Harley and drives away. Shit. We got to get this woman in training to be an NFL quarterback, don't we? Right? You got to put her in the NFL, don't you? You got to put her at the head of the Hells Angels, don't you? Because if you don't, well, we're going to shut it all down. So this is the message that's handed to you. You get to see pictures of Beyonce beating up men, shaming men. How does that make you feel? Right? You looking at that and saying, woohoo, I'm going to go get him, Tiger. Right? Now, you and I, we're full-grown men. What about the young man? What about the guy in his 20s who's just now coming up? Huh? What's in store for him? Women love to go into pornography too. You know what I mean? So many women on OnlyFans, right? Just like showing off their body, being whores and making money on it. Ha-ha. Don't you wish you could do that? No, I know you don't. I'm joking around, right? But what I'm suggesting is that here's the young man. He wants to earn money. He wants to make his way in the world. No job will hire him. Any job he tries to go to, like an office job or something like that, no. Any knowledge sort of work where he has to offer his opinion, communicate his ideas, no. That's not going to work. Might work for a little while. Not going to work. Gynocentric world. The women run the company. They run the HR department. So even if you are in a competitive, male field, no, it's going to be judged by these other standards, right? That they're writing the move evaluator. So that's what we're dealing with. And I don't know how to address it, except to say that you got to be true to your core values. Read the Bible. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. The Bible puts man in charge. See, there's something deeper, that I don't really like to talk about, but it might help you, okay? You are the male principle of creation itself. You are the male force of creation. You're thinking, you're moving, you're adapting, and you're a man. You can spread your seed. You can fertilize. You can plow the field. You can get it ready. You can reshape the surface of the world. You can certainly reshape the surface of your world. You can certainly clean your room and organize it to your specifications. You can work out, you can lift weights, and your human body will actually get stronger in most cases, unless, it's too damaged already. There's a psychology behind this as well. There's an emotionality behind this as well. So do you think I'm out of line by saying that man, and I do mean the males, are the most powerful force in the known universe? Am I out of line by saying that? I'm not. Known force, right? Physical force that's down here. Now, does that mean that you individually feel that? Oh, hell no. Right? I'm reminded of the line from the movie, The Crow. I feel like a small worm on the end of a big hook. So man, the most powerful force in the known universe, the most powerful known force in the universe, feels like a little worm on the end of a big hook. How do you square this circle? You, most powerful force in the known universe, no question. Women rolling their eyes at you, acting like you are unworthy, when you are doing the things that will enable the future. That without your things, without your work, that the future goes to hell. Everybody gets sick, everybody dies from degenerative diseases, while the people who are powerful make their money off of it. Yes, MGTOW topics are shadow banned. I should have 5,000 people listening right now because of what I'm saying, not because of, how good I am. I might like to think that, but no, that's not the reason. But, this maybe offends some of the people, some of the women, some of the men who love the women. This offends them. They want a world where gender affirming care. So anybody just gets to walk into the room and say anything they want, and the people in charge are obligated to say, wow, that's great, good job. And any decent man, any decent human being is listening to this bullshit and saying, our future is doomed. We're doomed. You've just had somebody do all the wrong things, and you've just supported them and given them positive reinforcement. And you've just had somebody do all the wrong things, and you've supported and given them positive reinforcement. You've had somebody do all the right things, the men, and you've condemned them. You've kicked them out. You've brutalized them. You've shamed them. You've canceled them. You've deplatformed them. You've debanked them. And plenty of the other young men, they're right on that side going along with it, because this is how they distinguish themselves in a group that is not based on merit. So this is the world. This is where we are hanging out. This is what we have created. This is what we have allowed to happen. And you can understand why. You can understand how everything goes towards entropy, how everything just starts breaking down. The center cannot hold. And everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed upon the world. So the lazy people, the dishonest people, they're running the show. And you see how it falls down. So you've got a football team and you've got some of the best players in the league and you've got to get yourself into the playoffs and you're going to go to the Super Bowl, right? But maybe you've got a few people on your team and they just don't care. They just want to get paid. It's really hard. So what happens? Well, you're not making it to the playoffs, are you? You're not making it to the Super Bowl, are you? You know, I was talking yesterday about Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson, like 1850s American philosopher. He wrote a great essay on American exceptionalism. It's worth checking out, okay? All of his stuff is worth checking out. You know who else is worth checking out? The autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, part 1. Is really particularly good because he's a good young man who's trying to do the right thing in a system around people who are just trying to fucking milk the system and screw people over and go the easy way. And he doesn't want to do that at all. And he gets screwed over multiple times and treated unfairly. But you know what he does? He turns it all around. He uses their own bullshit against them. It's beautiful. You know, it's good stuff. So I think a man can learn a lot from that. And if you don't want to read the thing, you know, you can't find the text, even though you could just type it into Google, watch a video on it, right? You know, they'll talk about it. So I'm not trying to exploit you. I'm not trying to like garner your attention and then move it over into these emotional topics where then I can do a call to action. I don't want to do that. I think you're too smart for that. Movies, video, it's hypnotizing people. It really is. Like Iron Man comes flying across the screen and everybody's eyes are locked onto the screen, into that motion, into that color, into that sound. And their jaws drop, and they start drooling. And if you say to them, hey, what time is it? They say to you, not now, I'm watching the movie. They're hypnotized. That's what this is. And it's no different from how an animal stalks its prey. It locks in, it stalks and approaches slowly, it gives chase. If it's a wild animal, it then grabs, it bites. And then if it's still a wild animal, it then kills and eats. If it's a domesticated animal like a golden retriever, it doesn't bite hard. It's very soft mouth. It doesn't rip and tear and kill, but it brings it back. And if it's like an Irish setter or a pointer, it doesn't even give chase. It just locks in with its eyes and then stares, at what it wants. So this mechanism of being able to be hypnotized and locked in, kind of like with that single male focus. It's what we use. It's what they use. It's why the pretty woman gets your attention in an advertisement. Yeah, there you go. Sydney Sweeney has good genes. There's a concept, right? And now they're putting out a video that says Beyonce, has just as good genes, right? But if we're going to go with the pun, no, she doesn't. Beyonce is manufactured. She's plastic surgery, she's makeup, she's marketing images, she's airbrushed everything. So it's manufactured. This is why, a video like this has some appeal over something like, a news broadcast, because that's a doctored image. It's bullshit. So at least, you're getting at least a person's like real ideas and their opinions. At least you can get that. So work on your core strength. Work on your core beliefs that are independent of female validation, even though we do need some validation from the world around us. In other words, you go out, you do your work, you need to get paid. Yeah, that's validation. Yes, that's positive reinforcement. You're in a social situation. People are crazy. You step up. You say, you do the right thing that'll bring us into the future in a healthy fashion. Yes, that should be supported. I mentioned this a little while ago. I'm in a group meeting on drug addiction treatment. And somebody just wanders in off the street and they're lost. They're high and they're all messed up and they're all confused and who knows what's going to happen. And nobody in there, the person's just standing there. Nobody in that room is dealing with it. Finally, big man in the room, bigger than me, man. This guy's, he's like 275 pounds. He's overweight, but he's big. He steps up and he says, yeah, can I help you? This is a meeting. This is a business. You need to step outside. Step outside. I'll see if I can help you. And he leads the man out. He probably gives him $5 too to help him get some bus fare. Yeah, incidentally, I could use your support too, people. Please help me out over there on Cash App. $5, $20, $50, large or small, because I'm not getting any positive feedback from the rest of the world around me. Let's put that into the chat again. Yes, I accept Bitcoin too, man. Go ahead. That's my Exodus Bitcoin wallet. I've learned to love Bitcoin. I just like the idea that the government doesn't get to know, right? Excuse me. Where the hell was I? Beyonce and Sydney Sweeney, right? Getting paid. Yeah. Just trying to help the young men. Just trying to help the men, What do you guys, do you remember? Yeah. If you try to be too nice of a guy, if you try to win the women's approval, when they're withholding it based on their own personal gain, like they're not withholding it because you did wrong, they're withholding it because they want you to bow down, okay? If you are that nice of a guy, that can kill you. That can destroy your self-efficacy. Who was my good friend? Even MGTOW, right? Some of the MGTOW, they're too nice. They're too good. They're too kind to a world that does not feel that way about them. Here I am. I don't want to hurt nobody. I don't want to make nobody small. I know what it feels like when people talk shit to me. I know what it feels like, and I don't want to make nobody feel like that. I don't know. I don't know what I can really tell you. You live in a world where that's what they're doing with you. And it's a woman. And it's a fat, weak woman from another race. Saw a female comedian. It's just a YouTube video. She says, what the hell happened, right? It used to be that the fat and ugly women, at least they were nice. At least they were sweet and kind, right? As sweet as their blood sugar. That's what they need to be. But a bunch of black men convinced the fat, ugly white women that they're still hot. Right? So now they were walking around with this horrible fucking attitude. I'm sorry, right? No, it's funny though, right? So you got these fat, ugly women in their 40s and shit, walking around in their spandex, showing off their skin, their splotchy skin, right? Can't show the face without covering it with some sort of foundation makeup. Otherwise it's just got pores and pits and horrible stuff in it. I saw a woman, this was about 3 weeks ago. She was coming into, the place where I was at. And she was with a man. I guess they were married or kind of like married. And she was kind of pretty. She had a pretty face. Just nice and, almost like a plaster Paris doll with these well-defined, shapely eyes and these, somewhat puffy cheeks and these somewhat small, puffy red lips, okay? That's what she looked like. I didn't look at her too much, but I saw that. I noticed that. A pretty face. Very much like the images that I would use in a lot of my videos, right? There's a reason why I do that. So I'm looking at her and I'm like, yeah, she's kind of pretty in the face. But then one day she comes in without her makeup on. She does not have a white plaster face. She has a brown face. It's not smooth and well-defined. It's splotchy. It's got holes in it. It's got pits in it. It's got acne all over it. The eyes are not only not well-defined, they're misshapen. One of them isn't even shaped like the other one. It's not even symmetrical. The cheeks, there are no cheeks. There's no cheeks. There's that like sunken in Ozempic, zombie look. Those are the cheeks with this brown pallor of death. And the lips, again, very much like the eyes. They're not even symmetrical. They're not red. They're not puffy. They're not even equally distributed. It's horrific. You know what I mean? Like you would look at that in the morning and you would be like, run for the fucking hills. You'd wake up in the morning and look over at something like that, sleeping next to you, and you'd be like, it's going to be a bad day, right? And then the person would go away and spend hours in front of a mirror painting their face and then coming out and looking like this completely different person. Right? What the hell is the man supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? He's supposed to be like, woo, I'm with her. And she's looking at him like, you capitulating fat dog. You know what I mean? You would just bend over and take it any which way if I was just like, I'm a little upset right now. I was like, why? Because she's so beautiful? No, she's not beautiful. It's because of the validation, okay? And again, I keep forgetting that the men are starving. This would be like a baby boy whose mother doesn't love him, okay? And he's like, Mom, can I please get a bottle? Can you please help me out here? And she's like, no, I'm going to go help my female daughter. I'm going to go help my female child. And then the male child is just like, you piece of shit. I should have had an abortion. Okay? Now, are you going to say to me that baby boy is weak? That he needs to toughen up? He needs a bottle. He needs a mother. So the men just needed fucking validation that they were good men doing the right thing in the world. And you know what they get instead? They get falsely accused. They get put in jail. They get brought into family court. They get run through the ringer 50 times for something that might appear that they did wrong. 50 times they go through the ringer. They get destroyed for what might appear to be a problem. And yet other people with obviously breaking the law, crimes, vicious, brutal crimes, my friends, without question, right? Just guarantee, yeah, that's what he did. Man stands up and says, that's right. I shot them, I beat them, and then I lit them on fire. And the judge says, well, since you're young, since you've admitted, since you have plans to go into the military, we're not going to come after you on this, but let this be a warning to you, okay? And that boy walks away laughing, having killed people. But then you step up. And it's like, yeah, somebody's accused you of jaywalking. We don't have any proof. We just somebody says that that you were jaywalking. And you're like, well, that doesn't sound like much of a big deal. And they're like, we're charging you with 50 different counts that range from a class 1 felony to a class 4 felony. unless you would like to accept this plea deal, which is just several counts on these things that you didn't do, and we'll put you in jail for the rest of your life. But at least we won't be coming after you for 50 counts. And 95% of the cases in your criminal justice system, that is exactly how they end. In a plea bargain. It's designed to do that. It's designed to overcharge certain people and to intimidate them and to threaten them into signing a confession. And then for other people, women, certain groups, oh no, they can 100% be guilty and they're going to walk. Yeah, that makes me angry. And I've watched it. I've sat there and watched it. Shameful. And the men and the guards and the workers are all sitting around. They've got the flag behind them and the seal of the state behind them. And they are dressed in robes. And there is ceremony and ritual associated with them even entering the room. And if you say, I have a question, they say to you, we don't even need evidence to convict you. Indeed, I have been part of many cases where there was no evidence, and that person was convicted. So what is it that you have to say, sir? And the answer is you have nothing to say. You will keep your mouth shut, or they will shut it for you. And this is simply for walking around. This is simply for walking around in the world as a man. That's it. Not as a fat man, not as a capitulating man, not as a broken man. You know, I go to places, public places sometimes, like maybe a food bank to get some food, okay? Because I can't get a job. I'm a felon. I have a great education. You guys have some ideas to, the skills that I have, both verbally, communicationally, technically, stuff like that, even though I'm not displaying them. You have some idea. No. I can't get a job. Amazing. And you should see the people who are employed in the criminal justice system, like the probation officers and stuff like that. Like, I got nothing against them personally, but it's like, wow, I know a lot of good men who could do this job. It was like, well, they're not getting that job. So we are condemned. I knew this all along. I knew that, even way back in 2015, that the true attack from the liberal left against the man was coming in the workplace. Okay, that if you can take away the man's ability to earn a living and to get by in the world, that everything else, you've shut it all down. You don't have to do the other things. You do this one thing, and you destroy the men. You destroy the future. You destroy the sustainable ethics moving forward. So that's what we've done. We've created a female gynocentric world with gender-affirming care where nobody is an A student, but we are all C students. And nobody has to work hard, except for the people who have to work hard, like the men. Like, you study for a test, you get all the answers right, and you fail the test. Somebody else doesn't study for the test, they get all the answers wrong, they get an A on the test, and they get a scholarship. How can I help? What can I say to you? The validation and the strength has to come from, the internal for you. It has to come from someplace like the Bible, okay? Which I'm not here to give, spiritual, supernatural advice. But I am here to say that you need an internal foundation for your being, for your strength. It's not just a material world. I mean, it is, of course. But what about love? What about honor? What about truth? What about sacrifice? What about beauty? None of these things are physical. We have physical representations of them, but they don't exist. They exist in our minds, in our ideals, in our values, in our hopes, in our dreams. That's where they exist. And then we make them real, okay? So I'm saying that you can take that male strength and you can make it real. You can take your core strength and make it the foundation of your life. And if you meet an attractive woman, right, you don't have to chase her. You don't have to buy her stuff. You don't have to agree with her. You don't have to go along with her. You don't have to follow her. You don't have to obey her. All you need to do is to be the man that you are. And that is respectable, isn't it? I mean, even to yourself. Like, you can look yourself in the mirror and you can say, okay, I'm doing what I got to do. It's not always working out. It's not always turning out the way I want. But, you know, it's going. Oh, what the hell's going on, man? I've lost my support. Going into the chat. Frank Rizzo, how's it going? MGTOW, 1 year strike. Fed by the church. Indian for me. I feel amazing. No longer have to buy Harley. No, you don't have to buy Harley, bro. Harleys are kind of... I live an Indian. I don't know if you're talking about, American Indian population, but I am very close to the American Indian population. And they are some great people, but they are suffering and they are lost. Rights we don't have. 1 year strike, we go back to work and look for families after the rights are restored. Oh, yeah. Now I see what you're saying, bro. 100%, right? This is the end of Atlas Shrugged. This is what Atlas Shrugged is about. Men going on strike. Atlas going on strike. The very people who hold up the foundation of the world going on strike. So the large industrialists, the billionaires. See, our revolution has to come from the bottom up. Because, those people, there's some good ones up on top. There surely are. But, no. The system, it's this globalized material monetary system. That's what it is. And it destroys the men. It destroys the individual man. And if we want to get enough food to get by to the next day, here, you want to hear something? Listen to this. Okay, it didn't work. That should have been my stomach growling. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Sorry about that. Sorry, everyone. So, I just wanted to come on here and fucking talk about this stuff with you guys. What's going on? Okay. Thank you, bro. I appreciate the support. Got a little support over there on Cash App. That'll get me by for a day. Absolutely. So, if you can, Cash App, support, donation link, help me make more videos. I got to go get some food. I'm grateful for your support that I can now go out and buy a little something to eat. That's the situation that we're in. Begging for food. We just let the men die. We just let them fall by the wayside. Everything they represent and their values, we just spit on it. The world, gynocentric world, just spits on it. He was a good man. He really was. I know that the world said that, he was this bad, vicious, misogynistic monster. But he was good to me. And these people who said that he was a bad man, yeah, they're really honorable men, aren't they? They're all fat and out of shape. They tell a bunch of lies. And they say that he was a bad man and that we should condemn him. And so we do. And he starves and he dies. Because the other people said he was a bad man. And the people who said that, oh yeah, they're really honorable men. So what do you have to say about your father? My father was a good man. But according to our current values, no, an evil man whose evil lives on after him, whose good deeds go into the grave with him, but all of his evil remains. So what about Howard Dare? What about MGTOW, right? Okay, so, 2,000-3,000 videos, right? No good deeds there. No help there. Nothing decent there. But of course, within those videos, I did say some harsh, nasty things about women, about a dependent class of people. So any good that I did will just be erased and ignored, and any bad I did will be amplified. And most of the men and most of the people are chasing after their egocentric feelings. They got their feelings hurt. They were not treated with respect. They expect entitlement. They've been princesses their whole lives. And you disagreed with them? Well, you're in a lot of trouble. You're going to lose your job. You're going to be falsely accused. You don't get no food. You're going to die because you hurt their feelings. That's our world. That's our reality. That's where we exist. And now your coworker says, we should spend all of the company's profits on a fancy tea set made of silver so that we can sip tea for lunch out of silver. And you're thinking, that's the stupidest waste of money that I could possibly imagine. We need computers. We need office supplies. We need additional workers. And this person wants a silver platter. But if you say that, you're going to get fired. And you can bet your ass you're going to be drinking tea out of a silver platter pretty soon. And unless you're like, oh, wow, this is great. I had no higher ambition or greater dream than to sit here and sip tea served from a silver platter. Oh, wow, we've really made it now. Wow, we're really good people now. Incidentally, go make fun of that young man and fire him. He doesn't get any tea or crackers. That's our world. That's where we are. Can you start up a company and run it differently? I think you can. I mean, I know that you can do it, but would it work? I don't know. But that's what I have to do. I can't get a job. No one's going to employ me. Certainly not with my skills. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go to some place and say, yeah, let me work on your SEO and your fundraising. Let me work on your social media accounts. But that's okay, right? I don't mind. I don't mind doing just, horrible physical labor. Did I tell you this story about me having to babysit a house, and then the house had to be completely stripped and torn down, and all the furniture had to be taken and thrown out, and I alone, it was a big, big place too, and I had to do it all alone, and then I had to bring it all back in, and then I had to bring it all back out, and then I had to take it all back in, and then I had to take it all back out again. And it took about 3 or 4 weeks. And do you know what they paid me? That's right. You got it. You heard it. Nothing. Not even food to sustain myself to continue to do their slavish work for free. Not even going to feed the slave. Going to whip the horse until it just dies. That's all. So that's the prospect that the good young man is looking at. You work your ass, you work yourself to death, they'll whip you to death, They won't even give you the food so that you can get by to the next day to continue to be their slave. This is the line from the movie where the businessman, this is Old West, businessman gets onto the train and he sits down next to the gunfighter and he says to the gunfighter, he says, "You want to know how to get an animal to do whatever you want it to do?" Gunfighter just looks at him. The rancher says, "Feed it just enough to get it by to the next day." So you're a gunfighter. Do you want to know how to get a man to do whatever you want him to do? Feed him just enough to get him by to the next day. Pay him just enough to get by to the next week. Pay him just enough to get by to the next month. And so I reach out. I reach out to my MGTOW brothers. I have faith. I have faith in my MGTOW brothers. I have faith in men, good men. You know, we've all experienced it. You know, like first day in a new school, all alone, bullies. There's usually one person. There's usually one good, person who comes up, says, "Hey, man, yeah, I went through this last week. It's going to be okay. It'll pass." There's usually at least one of those. I would suggest to you that there's a great many of those, but that they're afraid to step forward and do the right thing because the other ones don't. And they want to fit into the group and they want the approval of the group. And so we brutalize each other. We don't help each other. We compete with each other. We tear each other down. But I don't need to tear you down. There's nothing, you're not keeping anything from me. You haven't taken my job away. You haven't taken my woman away, right? What a funny expression that is, huh? My woman. So just the perspective of the way of looking at the world can set you on a course that is so dangerous and is such a dead end, such a blind alley. So be true to yourself. Find your own strength. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of the fact that you don't have to bend over and beg for a woman's affection. Be proud of the fact that you can stand up and tell the truth to somebody independent, regardless of how they might hurt you or come after you, right? I could tell MGTOW exactly what they want to hear, couldn't I? I could make the exact videos that MGTOW wants to hear. I'm thinking about doing it, right? Like, the teachers that are, accused of the sexual indiscretions with students. I believe that would be very popular. Okay, sorry about that. I got to go buy myself some food. Check me out over on Cash App. Make whatever little donation you can or large donation. I prefer a large donation, okay? One large donation takes care of it, okay? Whereas if the small ones, I need a lot of those. Just trying to get some food. Just trying to move forward into the future. Sustainable ethics. I don't want to die. I don't want the other men to die needlessly. So I reach out. All right. I'm going to leave it at that for now. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate. That's right. Click on that Cash App donation link. And join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. And the reason why I say I plan is because the police could come, they could arrest me, they could beat the shit out of me, they could throw me in a dark cell and keep me there for the next 30 or 40 years. And I'm not just making that up. They've already tried to do that. You're thinking to yourself, well, Howard, you probably deserved it. And it's like, that's right. I did. You know why? Because I came out here and I had content for you. So, join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.